Standard. Thought Leadership sponsor World Gold Council. Gold sponsors Emirates Gold and Emirates Minting. Gala dinner sponsor Alachi Metal Refinery. Lunch sponsor Parker Precious Metals. Silver sponsors are AKW Consultants, Ashoka Global, Suntech and DPMS. Delegate and lanyard sponsor Al Etihad Gold. Classic sponsor AC Refinery. Exchange sponsor CME Group. Gold bar sponsor IBV International Vaults. Conference networking app sponsor O Gold. Networking break sponsor HMB Gold. International banking sponsor ICBC Standard Bank. Logistics sponsor Transguard. Mint sponsor RG Refinery. Vaulting sponsor BRICS. Refinery sponsors are Grameltin and Rand Refinery. Jewelry sponsor Malabar Gold and Diamonds. Gold Hub sponsor Yian Precious Metals. Banking sponsor National Bank of Fujairah. Bullion sponsor Rafmo Gold Precious Metal Trading. Support sponsors are GemCorp and MAH Gold. Digital campaign sponsor NAMO. Mining workshop sponsor Blaze Metals. Digital gold sponsor Valcambi. Tokenized gold sponsor Comtech Gold. We are truly grateful for their generous support. Without further ado, we would like to start with our title sponsor, SAM Precious Metals video.
In a world where progress meets responsibility, one name stands at the forefront: SAM Precious Metals. More than a refinery, SAM is a beacon of innovation and sustainability in the heart of the UAE. SAM Precious Metals, the only refinery to do so, joined COP28 alongside global giants. In collaboration with the University of Bradford, we challenged the brightest young minds to create solutions for a sustainable tomorrow. SAM Precious Metals is the holder of the prestigious UAE Good Delivery Accreditation for silver and gold, the international standard for quality and technical specification, and with certifications such as RJC, COP, and COC, alongside our new achievements like Fair Trade, Fairmind, and IRMA. SAM proudly continues to set the benchmark in responsible sourcing and ethical practices. Every bar and coin we mint bears the mark of our responsibility, carrying the legacy of ethical craftsmanship and the assurance of quality. These aren't just products. They are symbols of our dedication to the highest standards in the precious metals industry. Aligned with the UAE's 2050 net zero strategy, SAM is the first refinery in the region with a fully operational zero-discharge water plant within its refinery. Every drop is treated, recycled, and reused. Zero waste, zero discharge. Our next mission? Being the MENA region's first refinery to produce carbon-neutral gold and silver bars. And while we lead in sustainability, we also lead in knowledge. The newly launched SAM Training Center is the first of its kind in the region, a non-profit hub of education, preparing professionals and newcomers for the future of our industry. An investment in the next generation of industry leaders. SAM Precious Metals. We don't just refine gold. We refine possibilities.
Please join me in welcoming Mr. Michael Lawrence, Chief Executive of Asia House and the MC to today's conference, to the stage.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, Honourable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 12th edition of the Dubai Precious Metals Conference. We have a truly outstanding program for you today with an enviable lineup of speakers who will share with you their insights and their views. Thank you all for being here and taking part. The Dubai Precious Metals Conference has become one of the most important events in the international calendar for the gold and precious metals industry. We bring together business leaders, ministers and government officials, industry veterans and key stakeholders, in fact, the most influential voices in the industry from around the world to shape the future of the precious metals landscape. This year's Dubai Precious Metals Conference is the most well-attended ever. In fact, we have more than 800 registrations. Tickets are sold out. We have a truly global audience as well. There are scores of nations represented here. It promises to be an exciting and insightful day, and we're delighted so many of you are taking part. We have a packed program with VIP speakers, several in-depth panels, all promising stimulating discussions around precious metals economy, BRICS, technology, and responsible sourcing. A reminder too of our gold competition brought to you by DMCC and BRICS Global. Test your knowledge by guessing the weight and value of the gold bars on display in the pre-function area. Use the app to submit your answers. More on that later. But now it gives me great pleasure to introduce DMCC's Executive Chairman and CEO, Ahmed Bin Sulayem.
Thank you, Michael. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all and welcome to the 11th edition of the Dubai Precious Metals Conference, which is officially our most well-attended edition to date. Actually, we broke the record and hopefully next year we do the same. To those who call Dubai home, to those who have traveled great distances, and to our first-time visitors, thank you for joining us. A special welcome to His Excellency Abdulla bin Touq Marri, the UAE's Minister of Economy, to the highly anticipated Jordan Belfort, who has flown in exclusively for this event and is powered up by Red Bull and my special coffee. To our esteemed members of the precious metals trade, our partners and our sponsors, welcome. I'm especially pleased to see new sponsors from regions including China, Malaysia, Poland, and an LBMA bank among our supporters, marking Dubai's role as a leading gold hub. Thank you for your commitment. In recent years, Dubai has established itself as one of the leading hubs for the trade in precious metals. The numbers speak for themselves. In 2023, the UAE overtook the UK as the second biggest gold trade hub in the world, with over $120 billion in total trade, a rise of over 36% on the past year, placing us behind what's written here is only Switzerland. No, it's a big gap between us and Switzerland, and I have a lot to learn from them. To put things in perspective, in the past 5 years, the UAE has tripled its gold trade, exemplifying the global shift in the landscape as the gold trade moves east and to Dubai in particular. And recent estimates indicate that about 45% of that gold trade is going through our district, the DMCC, and the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange. Storage, BRICS, and Almas Tower, for those who haven't visited yet. And for those of you unaware, here's a quick look at the refinery grid in DMCC. MTMO, which should be well known to all of you. Gold Exchange, popularly known in the trade as Enzo Gold Refinery, who have just completed construction and soon to become operational. And for those who love crypto, Enzo's working with us to launch the first ever crypto tower, also within the DMCC. Yes, I wear two hats. I prefer variety. We're also credited to creating the leading hub in diamonds. We're also the leading hub in lab-grown diamonds. We don't judge on that one, as long as the disclosure is there. Prestige Gold Refinery, a state-of-the-art refinery active in both refining and minting. Al Ghurair Gold, where we are hoping to see more activity in the future. Emirates Gold, the oldest refinery in the country and ranked 3rd largest in the country. Al Ittihad Gold, the largest refinery in DMCC and consistently holding the good delivery status for 11 years straight. And for those of you who remember, they were COMEX approved delivery for about a month. And then there's ARY. They're stuck. It's been over 20 years. I hope they get their act together. I hear they're coming close to finalizing the building. I have no issues with ARY being stuck or not refining, but at least someday they'll finish their construction. But DMCC is so much more than gold. For those new to DMCC and Dubai, allow me to briefly introduce who we are. DMCC, the Dubai Multi-Commodity Center, is home to 25,000 members, representing a diverse range of sectors, including physical commodities like gold, diamonds, tea, coffee, and energy. When I say energy, I do not mean Red Bull. I mean oil and gas and renewable energy sector, who play a big role in our sustainability hub. And for those who are visiting Uptown Tower, I urge you to visit Level 10, the Future Mobility Hub, that supports all initiatives that move away from combustion to clean or new energy, as well as high-value services and technologies, like our recently launched DMCC AI Center, which I believe represents about 90 companies in the AI industry, and the Crypto Center, that's about, I believe, over 800 companies, representing more than 60% of the GCC market today. And gaming. Do not confuse us with Ras Al Khaimah. I mean video games, esports, and metaverses. And I believe we've reached over 200 companies, and we're breaking in more businesses as well. My claim to fame in the gaming industry is convincing Jean-Claude Van Damme to finally making it in Mortal Kombat. After 30 years, he agreed. Many of you also know that we are the recipient of the Financial Times Global Free Zone of the Year for 9 years straight. And I'm impressed that the Financial Times or FDI Intelligence gave us more than 2 years. If I was running it, I would try to manage a way to ensure others win it. But I take my hats off to them. They kept it for 9 years based on the numbers and the criteria, which they had to change over a year ago, which removed two important factors, I think, the GFA and number of companies. But I'm happy to know that JAFZA became the best free zone of the year, according to the Financial Times. This makes Dubai the winner of the FDI Financial Times Award for 12 years straight, starting with JAFZA, DMCC 9 years, and now Jebel Ali Free Zone, where we're all having this event today. And DMCC's also won the #1 for this year, Global Knowledge Zone of the Year. I hope it's not a consolation prize, but we will compete better next year. One of the newly created categories, reflecting our exceptional environment for markets and business expansion, and I believe it's reflected in our Future of Trade report that we've shared today. Our growth continues to support Dubai's status as a global trade hub and a gateway between East and West. Today, we count over 1,500 companies in the precious metal space. In the past year, over 250 new companies joined our ecosystem from key markets around the world, including Singapore, Thailand, and Hong Kong. This includes major traders and industry players such as YLJ Bullion and MTS Gold, Public Gold Malaysia, and AC Stanley. I'm also pleased to see the World Gold Council here as thought leadership sponsor, following the opening of the regional headquarters in our district in March at the 1JLT. Having their presence within DMCC is a testament to the global appeal of our ecosystem for precious metals. Key to our success has been the supportive environment and infrastructure we have built. Today, our ecosystem counts refineries, banks, retailers, vaults, jewelry design, and manufacturing facilities, and a precious metals exchange. Through DGCX, the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange, the largest and most diverse derivatives exchange in the Middle East, we have facilitated an exchange trading with futures, options, and spot OTC trades. All DGCX trades are cleared through a central counterparty, the DCCC, Dubai Commodities Clearing Corporation, a crucial component ensuring default protection and increasing the number of parties in any trade. Mind you, it is the only exchange whose clearing is in the United Arab Emirates. The others are either in the UK or in Chicago. DGCX today covers derivatives such as the Indian rupee suite of options and futures, G6 currency futures, physical and spot gold futures, and silver futures, as well as Sharia-compliant products. In 2023, DGCX facilitated over 80,000 contracts for gold, silver futures valued for gold and silver valued at more than $44 million. We also launched our first Sharia-compliant silver spot contract, which has since traded over 50 kilograms of silver bars. Meanwhile, last year's DMCC's trade flow system, an online platform for registering ownership and transfer of commodities, registered a total of over 164,000 Islamic transactions with an underlying value of 1.91 trillion dirhams in 2023, a 17% increase year on year. We continue to expand our ecosystems beyond pure commodities to technology and high-value services in line with global market trends and the business needs of today. In September, we launched DMCC AI Center, which we look to advance AI adoption and real-life use cases that can attract new technologies and services. Some of our AI members have been with DMCC for over 5 years. It's all about timing in DMCC. With this new center, we look to scale up pragmatic solutions for the benefit of all companies, including precious metals. To be clear, we're not promoting a specific AI service, we are supporting the AI industry. We're also thrilled to announce the launch of the soon-to-be launched the DMCC Luxury Innovation Center, based in Almas Tower. This new center will provide the global luxury industry with the tools to address complex issues in our industry, using technology to boost confidence and transparency through supply chain. We're making considerable strides to advance the global gold industry in line with the highest possible standards, including the UAE's government's responsible sourcing frameworks. The commitment inspired our partnership with the World Gold Council earlier this year, focused on tackling hand-carried gold, developing training for professionals in the bullion industry, and formal engagement with bullion banks. This is also why we continue to drive critical discussions on compliance and transparency, including through multiple workshops done in collaboration with the CME and workshops yesterday held in collaboration with the Africa Mineral Strategy Group, which exemplifies our commitment to formalizing the supply chain in Africa. Some speculated that focusing on compliance measures would slow the UAE's precious metals trade. Far from it, our dedication to compliance has only enhanced our global reputation and increased trade, as the numbers clearly demonstrate. Together, we are setting new standards of excellence and facilitating great accessibility, trust, and transparency for market participants globally. As is fitting for this time in our industry, today's agenda is rich and thought-provoking. It will provide thought leadership and high-level contact and a platform for exploring some of the biggest trends shaping the market for gold and silver. There is indeed a lot to discuss, both globally and within the precious metals landscape. Hence our theme, the future of precious metals, modernizing trade in a multipolar market, is especially appropriate today. The world of precious metals is changing rapidly. Gold prices have reached record levels. Geopolitics and Western sanctions have forced a rethink by many countries when it comes to their reliance on the US dollar, leading to the repatriation of gold by central banks, a global shift eastward for gold trade. And Dubai stands at the center of a new BRICS-led gold corridor emerging in real time. This is something Feryal Ahmadi, DMCC's Chief Operating Officer, will delve into shortly through her presentation of our latest Future of Trade Precious Metals Thought Leadership Report, which we officially launched yesterday. I urge you all to download this report to stay informed and up to date. Our second panel will focus on safeguarding the gold supply chain and institutionalizing provenance, while the third panel will examine supply and demand, exploring if we are nearing peak gold and its impact on trade. Finally, we'll explore technology's transformative role in the industry, from AI and machine learning in mining to fraud detection and the development of digital gold products. Ladies and gentlemen, amid record gold trade, Dubai continues to prove why it is the place to be for the precious metals industry. Before I close, I would like to ask the crowd to raise their hand if they've heard of the DMCC gold bond, the $200 million that financed DMCC. Have you heard about it? That is literally 3% of the crowd. Thank you, Colin, for passing me this. The concept of DMCC has been toyed around a lot in the 90s and has failed a number of times. I was blessed to join DMCC for work experience. I just wanted to learn in 2001. And it was dubbed as the Gold Project. And we were a smaller startup, a smaller team than our coffee center in JAFZA South today. That's white labeling and roasting and hosting barista training, barista tournaments, roasting training, and roasting tournaments. But we had to build something. All we had was the Jumeirah Lakes Towers, but we were not known. And we wanted to launch a product. Our first gold product was the $200 million gold bond. And we wanted to familiarize it with our region. We wanted to ring fence it, so it was Sharia compliant. It was put together by Standard Bank London, Dubai Islamic Bank, and Istithmar. Obviously, myself, Colin Griffith, and the team worked tirelessly on it. And we had S&P rate it. S&P looked at it, and they had a few questions. One, they wanted to see the DMCC board, which we didn't have. It's a double-edged sword, the boards. Things can get stuck and not move. The other thing, they wanted a government guarantee since we didn't have a track record. They didn't get that either. But they saw interest in DMCC and the Almas Tower, which I changed from the original plan of it being a 20-floor office building with 20 floors hotel to what it is today, 63 floors of usable office space, making it the tallest diamond tower in the world. And they went with it. And it got an A stable rating, A+ long-term, A- short-term. There was no funding for DMCC. For those who overlook gold as an asset, without this project, the Almas Tower wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be here talking to you. Dubai may not be the leading diamond hub in the world for the last 5 years, and the second leading gold hub in the world. And we wouldn't be able to even dare to build the Uptown Tower. For those who think it's big, this is the smaller one. The original plan, if you go back in history, I announced that we want to build the tallest commercial tower. I don't know if it will be the tallest commercial tower. It's been about 11 years since, and I haven't looked at what China and the rest of the world has done. But I can guarantee you, it will look double the size of Uptown. So that's coming on board. But this is really the foundation of DMCC. And as His Highness puts it, we make achievements to build on those achievements and attract more. So we are here, but this is a new starting line for DMCC and its 25,000 members. And I guarantee you we're hungry to do more. Thank you.
Ahmed, thank you very much, and congratulations for the truly breathtaking growth and expansion of DMCC. You can only imagine what's going to happen over the next 10 years under your inspirational leadership. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for the Dubai Precious Metals Conference. Please welcome to the stage His Excellency Abdulla Touq Al-Marri, the UAE Minister of Economy. Minister.
Good morning, everyone. I was just chatting with His Excellency Ahmed Bin Sulayem. Last time I was here, he spoke without a paper. Today, he spoke with a paper, and I ended without one. I'll stick to my papers, and I'll convene on addressing you all to this Dubai Metal Precious Conference 2024. A great place to meet, a gathering, a vital platform for the precious metal industry, bringing together industry leaders, innovators, visionaries who shape the sector and the sector for the future as well. The UAE has long recognized the strategic importance of precious metals, not only to our economy, but to our country's vision as a global hub for sustainable commerce, innovation, and economic resilience. Our journey as industry mirrors our national aspiration, one rooted in growth, integrity, and collaboration. The UAE's commitment to your sector is reflected in both policy and infrastructure, allowing the UAE to emerge as a leading player in global precious metals trade. The UAE trade in gold and precious metals has grown exponentially, with Dubai at the core accounting for a substantial portion of the world's global trade. In 2022, we saw UAE's foreign trade in gold alone reaching remarkable volumes, surpassing $50 billion and an increase over 50% from years and years. The precious metals sector now represents a significant portion of our GDP, contributing substantially to our trade balance and providing employment opportunities for a skilled workforce. These contributions underscore the UAE's role as a facilitator for the global trade, drawing businesses and investors worldwide to our shores. Our success is due not only to our geographical positioning and robust infrastructure, which Ahmed has shown, which continues to attract global network of businesses and industries, but our partnership that add depth to our economy and align with our broader economic diversification objectives, part of our Centennial 2071 vision. UAE's leadership in the global precious metal market is built on infrastructure, policies, and commitment to transparency and quality. Our federal gold policy reflects our proactive approach to aligning with international best practices. This policy encompasses initiatives such as the Good Delivery Standard, a dedicated trading platform, and a centralized database for gold traders. The policy has sets high a bar in refining and trading practices, establishing in the country as a trusted destination for gold quality precious metals and setting a standard that echoes across global markets. The UAE is proud to host world-class refineries like SAM Precious Metals, which was recently visited by our team to reinforce our support for industry-leading operations and stringent standards of quality and ethics. These institutions reflect our commitment to quality, and today, more than ever, they are essential in building trust with our partners. Our infrastructure enables companies to operate to global standards, supported by the Dubai Multi-Commodities Centre, cutting-edge facilities and network, facilitating trade and financing while bolstering the UAE's reputation as a global trading hub. Together, these measures enhance transparency, governance, and the overall competitiveness of the UAE's gold sector. Our policy further boosted investor confidence in our economy, and its status as a major gold trading hub resulted in an increased investment activity and stability and reliability in the country's gold sector. As we look toward the future, sustainability in the precious metals sector has become an imperative. Globally, the demand for ethically sourced and responsible mined metals is rising. And as an industry leader, the UAE has taken concrete steps to ensure our practices align with these expectations. We are committed to fostering a sector that operates in harmony with global standards, whether through responsible sourcing, human rights due diligence, or ensuring environmental best practices. The UAE has introduced measures to align with international compliance frameworks, emphasizing transparent kilogram shipment valued at $4 million at the time was the first export contract listed on an international exchange, meeting the UAE good delivery standard. Our collaboration with the global organization to enhance the traceability of precious metal reflects our commitment to sustainable practices. Furthermore, by prioritizing ethical supply chains and implementing initiatives that mitigate the environmental impact of precious metals processing, the UAE aims to lead by example and inspire similar standards worldwide. And on this, I want to send a very clear message. Sustainability is not merely a trend, it's a necessity. And we in the UAE believe that our collective future relies on sustainable growth, which is beneficial for people as it's for profits. As such, we urge all participants in the precious metal industry to adopt these principles, ensuring our sector resilience and reputation to years to come. The precious metals industry, like all others, is entering a new era where technology and innovation are essential for success. In the UAE, we have embraced the potential of blockchain and other emerging technologies to create efficiencies, enhance transparency, and deliver the value across the supply chain. Blockchain, for instance, offers unprecedented opportunities to trace the origins of precious metals, ensure their legitimacy, and supporting our commitments to ethical sourcing. Our investment in digital innovation do not stop there. We are exploring new applications of artificial intelligence to optimize trading, refining processes, and forecast trends that will support the resilience and adaptive precious metals market. Innovation in the industry is also about creating a new product offering, from gold-backed digital currencies to investment platforms that democratize access to precious metals, catering to a broader and more diverse global centennial. Moreover, as we work toward the UAE Centennial 2071 goals, we are committed to fostering a knowledge-based economy where high-value industries like precious metals play a pivotal role. In our interconnected world, no nation or industry operates in isolation. The UAE recognizes that our progress is only as strong as our partnerships and our shared commitments to the integrity. Sustainability and transparency of the global precious metal market, as we meet today at this conference, I invite each of you to see the UAE as your trusted partner and collaborator. Our journey to becoming a global hub for precious metal has been made possible by our partnerships, and we are continually seeking to expand these relationships through collaboration, and we can build resilient supply chains, share best practices, and strengthen the industry's global reputation. We are also eager to engage in partnerships that promote knowledge exchange, from training programs and internships to sharing innovative practices. It is through such alliances that we can drive the entire industry forward, developing solutions to the common challenges we face and ensuring that our future is one of shared success and sustainability. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, as we look toward the future, let us remember that the precious metals industry is not just about trade and wealth. It's a sector with profound impacts on people's lives, on the reputation of global markets. And the UAE stands ready to work alongside all of you to ensure that our industry is one of integrity, sustainability, and shared value. Let us use this opportunity here and now to solidify our commitments in building the resilient, forward-looking precious metals market and not one that only meets the needs of today, but sets the foundation for future generations. Thank you, and I look forward to the innovative ideas and partnerships and solutions that will emerge from this esteemed gathering together. Let's unlock the full potential of our industry. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you very much indeed. You heard Ahmed earlier refer to the future of trade. The Future of Trade is the flagship publication of DMCC and has become the global benchmark for thought leadership on all issues trade. The series has now been downloaded something like 2 million times. Well, to present the key findings of the Future of Trade and specifically insights on precious metals trading, please welcome Feryal Ahmadi, Chief Operating Officer of DMCC.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you very much for joining us at the 12th edition of the Dubai Precious Metals Conference today. As many of you well know, precious metals and gold in particular is one of the UAE's most important commodities. The gold trade has played a central role in Dubai's growth in the past number of decades. And today, Dubai is a gold powerhouse as the city of gold, contributing to 15% to the global gold trade. For over 20 years, DMCC has also supported Dubai to become the foremost physical gold market and the global hub for the gold supply chain. We have also evolved to become an international business district, home to 25,000 member companies today operating across a range of commodities and high-value services. Our growth has contributed to the growth of Dubai. Today, we contribute to 15% of the foreign direct investment coming into Dubai and 7% of its GDP. In the precious metals sector, DMCC has focused on developing ecosystems through building infrastructure and developing products and services. Specifically in the precious metals trade, we look at premium vaulting services, secure logistics, jewelry design and manufacturing facilities, gold bullion coins, as well as dedicated platforms such as the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange, as well as the DMCC trade flow. With over 2,500 member companies in the precious metals space today, DMCC is proud to be recognized as one of the world's leading hubs for precious metals trade. So as a key player in the precious metals and global trade landscape, DMCC is naturally heavily invested in the global economy and to understand the challenges and opportunities facing the flow of trade around the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next 15 to 20 minutes, we will together embark on a journey into the future of trade. Our latest report, titled "The Future of Trade Decoupled and Reconfigured," delves into global trade transformations, offering insights into the dynamics of trade for the next decade. So what do we mean when we say decoupled? Global trade faces a transformative period ahead. We all recall the COVID pandemic. It's actually hard to believe that it's been 5 years since COVID. What COVID did was completely transform not just the way we do business, but society itself, turbocharging a lot of the changes that we see today. COVID was a global shock. It laid bare the vulnerabilities in our present systems, in our digital infrastructure, in our just-in-time delivery solutions. And yet, like many shocks, it was also a call to action and an incentive to change. So as COVID fades into the rearview mirror, we are facing a very new world. This era is marked by the dissolution of traditional trade networks. In their space, we will see the rise of regional blocs, including BRICS, with alliances among trusted partners taking center stage. And what do we mean when we say the future of trade is reconfigured? With trade sitting at the interface of geopolitics and macroeconomics, we find ourselves pushed forward by a high magnitude of change. We all see the competition that is ramping up between the United States and China, the two superpowers of our age. We also have two open and serious conflicts in Europe and the Middle East. And in 2024, we witnessed some 80 elections. Almost half of the world population went into the polls, including, of course, the US election that took place a couple of weeks back. Each of these factors has the potential to unleash new waves of nationalism, new waves of trade protectionism, which can threaten our path to global economic recovery. And yet, in the middle of this turbulence, two unstoppable forces are poised to redefine the rules of the game: technology and sustainability. From blockchain to AI to energy transition to environmental technologies, these will revolutionize the world of trade and business, opening new possibilities and reshaping the fabric of our economy. So what is in store for us? Here are our findings of the future of trade. Firstly, we find ourselves in the middle of a profound fragmentation of trade dynamics. We are witnessing a striking trend towards regionalization, where nations forge new alliances and trade corridors in a web of relationships and agreements to shield them against the unpredictability of the international stage. Competition between these regions are also set to intensify, particularly in critical sectors such as silicon chips and environmental technologies. As a result, we will see an increase in friendshoring, which is movement of operations to allies, that will strengthen inter-regional trade in both Asia and North America. For the gold sector, there are several distinct interlocking trends. Firstly, geopolitical realignment. With rising tensions, particularly following the conflict in Ukraine and sanctions on Russia, the world is reassessing its financial security and reliance on the US dollar. As a result, central banks, especially those in non-Western nations, are buying gold at unprecedented rates, pushing gold prices to record highs, and reaffirming gold's role as a trusted store of wealth in uncertain times. Second, gold is increasingly seen as an alternative to the dollar. Central banks aren't just holding gold. In an evolving trade landscape, some countries are choosing gold over the dollar for international transactions. Third, the emergence of a new gold economic corridor. The global gold market is shifting eastwards. Cities like Dubai, Shanghai, and Singapore are emerging as new powerhouses of gold, challenging the long-held position of London and Geneva as the twin centers of the gold trade. With Asia's increasing economic influence and its role as a major consumer of gold, these cities are now key players in a market that is increasingly driven by demand from the East. The result is a fast-paced, diversified gold market with new trading hubs, including here in Dubai. Physical gold is now shuttling between regions, enabling traders to take advantage of price variations across the globe. As these geopolitical and economic realities evolve, it's not overstating to say that we are witnessing a rise of an Asian century in the precious metals industry. Together, these trends underscore a market that is being redefined. It's a time of opportunity and challenge as the gold industry navigates its place in a rapidly evolving landscape. Coming back to the global scale, impacts of goods and commodities, at 75%, goods still make up the largest share of global trade, valued at $31 trillion in 2023. After a slight dip last year, the forecast suggests a modest rebound for goods trade on the horizon. Overall, trade volumes will rise, albeit unevenly, supporting the recovery of the global economy. But this growth does not come without its challenges. In the turbulent landscape of the past 2 years, commodity prices have been on a roller coaster. A surge of 12.4% in total merchandise trade value in 2022 was followed by a steep decline in 2023. Fuels and mining products surged by an average of 19% annually from 2019 to 2022, surpassing $5 trillion in value. For precious metals as well, we've witnessed a remarkable shift driven by record-breaking prices and the reshuffling of global power dynamics. In the past year, the gold price has surged by 20% to over $2,500 per ounce, while silver has climbed by 1/3. This growth points to how nations and investors are reshaping their views on precious metals. Central banks are taking center stage. They're diversifying away from the US dollar and turning into gold, which offers them financial independence and security against potential sanctions. Additionally, many central banks are moving their gold out of traditional vaults and closer to home. Today, about 68% of central banks hold some gold domestically, while projections that this number will increase to 74% in the next 5 years. Meanwhile, silver is also emerging as the technology metal. Almost half of all silver demand today comes from sectors like data centers, AI, cloud computing, and solar energy. This dual demand from central banks and private investors for gold and industries for silver has made the precious metals market the one to watch as gold and silver shift their positions and attractiveness as investments. With significant bearings on geopolitics, supply chains, and financial systems, in response to multifaceted demand, gold and silver are actually a potent reflection of the complexities of the modern trade landscape today. Further, on the global scale, one of the most transformative forces shaping global trade, as we all know, is technology. The surge in e-commerce and digital services shows no signs of slowing down. Retail e-commerce sales are predicted to reach $8 trillion by 2027, or 41% of global retail sales. While goods still dominate the global trade volumes, services are very rapidly catching up. In 2023, the trade in services grew by 9%, outpacing the trade in goods. We expect demand for digital services to grow in the coming years, making this one of the key trends to support global trade resilience. And yet, despite these advances, the most disruptive development is the dawn of AI. Projected to add $15 trillion to the global economy by 2030, AI opens up a vast realm of opportunities to optimize supply chains and reduce costs. For precious metals, AI is enhancing cost control, improving safety in mines, and helping identify new deposits. It also aids regulators by detecting illicit activity in the gold trade, such as money laundering, through advanced algorithms that scan transactional data. Beyond AI, semiconductors are poised to be the front line in the drive for technological supremacy. The growing competition in chips between China and the United States will drive new global trade dynamics as both superpowers ramp up production to shield their industries. Over $175 billion have been invested in semiconductors in the past 2 years. The strategic importance of silver, a central component in semiconductors and other emerging technologies, is therefore likely to accelerate in the coming years, especially as China and India race to supply their booming economies. Meanwhile, blockchain continues to offer avenues to overcome current challenges to trade. The value of blockchain to global supply chains is currently estimated at $13.5 billion by 2030. Blockchain is ensuring that gold can be tracked from the origin to its final buyer, creating tamper-proof records that help us verify that the gold is ethically sourced. Immutable ledgers are offering increased levels of certainty that traded products are backed by physical gold. These developments are impacting precious metals as well. Once viewed as a competitor to gold, cryptographic technology has now become a source of inspiration, including the success of digital wallets in ensuring ownership and easier access, accelerating the development of digital gold products and blockchain-based trading platforms. Of course, much more needs to happen for blockchain to prove its transformative potential. The central focus for governments must now remain on the provision of appropriate global standards and regulatory frameworks for digital solutions that balance innovation, transparency, consumer protection, and trade facilitation. The rapid advances of technology and AI could also help finding solutions to some of the world's most pressing trade challenges, and that is trade finance. Around 80 to 90% of the world trade relies on trade finance, but the global trade finance gap continues to grow. Now at a record $2.5 trillion, the gap will widen despite solutions such as fintech and multilateral development banks funding. The persistence of macroeconomic challenges will contribute to cautious lending practices, which will be most felt by small businesses in emerging markets. The estimated value for unmet demand for trade finance in Africa stands at $120 billion, and in Asia at a staggering $700 billion. Imagine a world where transaction efficiency soars and access to credit becomes as easy as a few clicks away. This is the promise of AI and blockchain. with the potential to revolutionize the very foundation of trade finance. Consider this. Every year, 4 million documents are produced to support global trade. And yet, less than 1.5% of these documents are digitized. We are in 2024, and yet each cross-border transaction requires 36 documents. This is time-consuming and cumbersome, especially for SMEs in emerging markets. But with the impending surge of digitally delivered services, this tide is about to turn, and businesses hold the key to unlocking this. By ramping up data collection efforts, they can boost their ESG ratings and attractiveness. Businesses must also tap into the stream of alternative sources of funding away from the traditional bank loans, including venture capital, private equity, crowdfunding, and impact investing. Together, we must harness the power of technology to bridge the trade finance gap and pave the way towards a future where access to credit can be made accessible and available to those who need it the most. This applies in particular to those in emerging markets and the artisanal and small-scale gold mining sector, which sustains up to 100 million people around the world. By connecting ASGM miners to formal markets and financial platforms, we can drive a fair and more sustainable gold system. This leads me to the final transformative drift, which is sustainability and climate. Where trade is concerned, sustainability is actually very interesting, given the huge scope of opportunities for cutting-edge technologies and the rise of new trade hubs and consumers. Countries such as the UAE and Saudi Arabia, with their abundance of traditional energy reserves and renewable potential, are primed to fast-track their competitive edge in the sustainable trade arena. In fact, the UAE has just cemented its position as one of the top 10 hubs for trade in environmentally sound technologies. Meanwhile, the rise of climate and carbon consciousness is also reinforcing regionalization as companies race to strengthen their resilience against extreme weather events and cater to consumer preferences for locally and ethically sourced products. It's a trend that promises to reshape the very nature of trade patterns, even more so as companies navigate the patchwork of carbon pricing and emission trading systems. In the EU and China and across the wider Asia region, we're seeing the implementation and scaling up of large emissions trading platforms, signaling a very bold step towards a more sustainable future. Of course, this is particularly relevant for precious metals. Intensifying efforts by scaling up technologies to prevent conflict gold entering into the supply chain, developing mercury-free mining, or supporting ASGM with training and access to former markets will not only enhance transparency and provenance, but boost the industry's ESG ratings. This will enhance its appeal and compliance, acting as a safeguard in a world increasingly committed to sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, as the world gears up for a period of profound change, new opportunities emerge for businesses and economies that promise to reshape trade for decades. What lies ahead? We see three transformative trends poised to redefine global trade: an accelerated shift to regionalization, widespread supply chain restructuring, and a surge in digital services and AI adoption. For the precious metals industry, technology holds perhaps the biggest opportunities. From AI-driven exploration and autonomous mining to blockchain-based tracking for transparency, these innovations are modernizing every aspect of the gold market. Meanwhile, the rise of a new BRICS-led gold corridor is also shaking the market. Here, Dubai, with its strategic location, cutting-edge infrastructure, and record gold trade in recent years, is positioned to lead as one of the foremost players in this new gold ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I am delighted to have had the opportunity to present to you our special edition of the Future of Trade report in precious metals, which was launched yesterday. I encourage all of you to grab a copy or download it from futureoftrade.com, where you can read about all of these insights and more. Thank you again for joining us.
Feryal, thank you very much for such a rich and comprehensive briefing. I recommend the report. Please do take a look. Now it's time for a special address. Our speaker has an extraordinary CV and a unique set of skills and experiences. He is an entrepreneur. He is a best-selling author and arguably the most famous of all Wall Street traders. He was immortalized in the 2007 Martin Scorsese film starring Leonardo DiCaprio. He is best known as the Wolf of Wall Street. Please give a very warm welcome to Jordan Belfort.
Thank you so much. Well, I guess I'm the only one that doesn't, they gave me a headset so I can walk around. I love to walk around, but I'm honored to be here today. Really, it truly is an honor. Ahmed is a very close friend of mine, and we met about, I think it was 5 years ago, and since then we've met at different spots in the world. I think you're the only person that travels more than me. We're close to it, right? And I've really watched the DMCC grow tremendously since that time. And when Ahmed asked me to come here and speak, I was very much honored. And I said, what do you want me to speak about? He goes, whatever you want. And, I'm sure many of you have a fear of public speaking. It's very common. I have a fear of not public speaking. Like, I love to speak, right? So when he said you have 30 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, 30 minutes. Well, that's like me telling just the first 1/100th of my story. But he goes, also try to speak about gold and commodities, which are two things I know a lot about. And I've actually, been around for quite some time, and believe it or not, when I was coming of age and I was a kid, it was right when Nixon first took us off the gold standard in the United States, and then back then it was in the low 30s, gold, and by the time I made it down to Wall Street in 1987, it had gone up to almost $500 an ounce. And just to very quickly give you a brief history of my career on Wall Street, I know you've all seen the movie, I'm sure, at least almost all of you have seen the movie, right? So I just want to give you some of the what really happened really quick before I kind of dive into what I really think about gold, where I think it's going, how I think it, on some level, doesn't compete with Bitcoin. I think they're mutually exclusive. They can both go up at the same time. What I think about the commodities in terms of the super cycle that ended in 2011, where we are right now, and what I think about my crazy government, okay, in terms of what just happened with the election. And I think I have some really good insight I can give to you as a citizen of the United States. I was intimately involved with the Republican Party. I am a big fan of Trump, I'll say that, and I think that the country needed Trump. But let me just go back and kind of bring you back to my first days on Wall Street, 1987. I think gold was in the mid, it was about $508 back then an ounce, right? And I went down to Wall Street, believe it or not, because I saw the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas, the original movie Wall Street, and I was so intrigued. And I said, I have to be a stockbroker, right? And back when I went down to Wall Street, believe it or not, it was so archaic compared to now there wasn't even real-time trading on the NASDAQ. You used to actually get your volumes afterwards, right? It was not real-time reporting. And, I started right before the crash of 1987, just like the movie says. And I trained for 6 months, and finally my first day as a broker came, which was October 19th, 1987, Black Monday. And I watched in shock and awe as the market went down 508 points in a single day. And just like that, the firm I was with, LF Rothschild, which had been in business for 112 years, shut its doors. And I was out of a job, right? So now I went home that day. I was married to my first wife. It's wife number 1 of 4. I've not done that well in the wife department, I'll admit that, right? Although I have a great wife now. And I literally started crying in her arms. I was devastated, right? But I had about maybe, 30 minutes to be devastated. I had no money, so I picked up the newspaper looking in the help wanted section, and I found an ad for stockbrokers part-time in Long Island where I lived. And I walked into this little firm, and it turned out they were selling penny stocks, right? I didn't even know what a penny stock was. So I took the job, and I had a gift for sales, you probably know from the movie, and I quickly became the top broker in this firm. And then 6 months later, the opportunity came to open up my own brokerage firm, which I did. And it started very small with about 12 people. And in the beginning, I was selling penny stocks to average moms and pops. And then I had this idea about moving up to the $5 to $10 range and selling to the richest 1%. And to do that, I needed to invent a different way of selling. A way to teach the average person to sell and to close sales in a way that they could connect with much wealthier, more sophisticated people. And I invented a system that was called the straight line system. And it was a way to teach people to sell. And it worked so well. I invented it in one night back in 1988. It worked so well that within 3 months, I was making almost $1 million a week, which actually was a lot back then. Now it doesn't seem like that much in the era of hedge funds, but there were no hedge funds back then, and it was just a massive sum of money, right? And my life completely spiraled out of control. Now, I know that Ahmed likes to make fun of me because I'm constantly drinking, and they even put one on the stage for me here, because this is like all I have left. I'm sober now for 27 years. 27 years sober, by the grace of God. So all I have left is this now, is Red Bull, right? But anyway, so I invented this system, and the firm grew and grew and grew. And eventually, the mistake I actually made, the biggest mistake of all, was really twofold. Number one is I decided, for whatever reason, to bring money over to Switzerland. All right? And I brought over about $20 million to Switzerland back then. And my luck, the one Swiss banker to get arrested in the United States was my banker, believe it or not, of all the places in the United States, right? And the reason he got arrested had nothing to do with me. It was because he was laundering money for Benihana, it's just like the movie said, and I got swept up into this, sting operation, and then he gave up everybody, and just like that, I was indicted. And in a single day, I lost everything. Everything. I lost my money, my reputation, my freedom. I was being smeared and vilified in the press. It was just an absolute gut punch. And ultimately, I went to jail. And I served 22 months. Now, it wasn't in the worst jail in the world. It was a camp. But jail's a terrible place. And when I went there, believe it or not, this is where the story really gets strange, is my bunkmate turned out to be a very famous comedian named Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong. I don't know if any of you know him. He's a very famous comedian, right? And they put us in the same little cube together so we could just, be friends, I guess, right? They can keep an eye on both of us. We were both pretty famous. He was more famous back then, right? And at the time, he was writing a book, and I had never written before. And, I would just tell him stories at night, and he was rolling on the floor laughing about some of my insane stories, right? And he said to me, "You have to write a book." And I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "I don't think my life is crazy." He's like, "I'm Tommy Chong. I think your life is insane. You should write a book." So I started trying to write, In the beginning, it was very difficult for me to write. I couldn't get anything out that was meaningful. Though it was dry and boring, and finally, by luck, I stumbled upon a book that you might know called Bonfire of the Vanities, which is a famous book written by Tom Wolfe. And as soon as I started reading this book, I'm like, oh my God, I want to write like this man. It's so compelling, right? And I plowed through the book, that I took out a yellow highlighter, and I taught myself how to actually write in jail by modeling Tom Wolfe. I literally spent 6 months highlighting every phrase, seeing how he introduced characters and created conflict, how he described things, right? And I wrote about 120 pages, and when I was getting out of jail, I just ripped them up. I didn't think they were good enough, but I now had acquired this skill. And when I got back out of jail, right, I had a tiny mortgage company. Before I went in, I had started a mortgage company, right? And when I came back out, it was right before the GFC, the global financial crisis, and I noticed that the mortgage business had just gotten insane in the United States. They were basically giving a loan to anybody with a pulse and a social security number. Anybody. It didn't matter what your credit score was. You were getting 115% financing, right? And I'm like, whoa, I got to get out of this business, right? So I started writing. And I wrote about 10 pages, and I sent them to a book agent, and he's like blown away by the page. He'll stop what you're doing. You need to write this book. And at first I was reluctant, but I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. And I started writing, very quickly sold the book to Random House on page 50. And when I finally finished the book, it was about 2006. It wasn't even a book, it was a manuscript. It was passed to 4 players in Hollywood. To Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and Mark Wahlberg. 4 pretty big people, right? Now, at the time, George Clooney was already too old. Mark Wahlberg back then wasn't his biggest star, so it came down to Brad Pitt and DiCaprio, right? And each side said, whatever he pays you, I'll pay you 10% more. I was like, wow, it's a good position to be in. And up and up and up the bidding went. And then finally, right, Leo calls me on a Sunday, and he says, I have Marty Scorsese attached. He's going to direct. Well, what was I going to do, right? So I sold it to Leo DiCaprio for Marty to direct, and just like that, the idea of the movie The Wolf of Wall Street was born, right? Right after that, very quickly, a screenplay was penned by an amazing screenwriter named, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, his name was Terrence Winter, right? But Terry penned the script, and the first draft was incredible. Everyone loved the first draft. They greenlit the movie. This is 2007, and I'm like, my life is about to skyrocket. I can't believe what a comeback this is, right? They rent the sound stages, and then the writer's strike of 2007 hits. The writers put down their pens, and they can't finish the polish of the movie, for the script. And Leo and Marty go up and do Shutter Island instead, and now 4 years of death goes by, where nothing is happening. The market, the GFC happens. You can't sell anything to anybody. I can't make any money now, right? So I decided to go into the speaking business, right? I said, I'll go out. I love to speak. And I started going around the world very slowly at first, free speeches in the beginning. And I built up a speaking business. And by the time the movie finally came around again in 2012, right, my life had been rebuilt. I had already started really making a lot of money again. I was giving big speeches around the world. And they actually changed the ending of the movie to reflect that. Remember the movie, it ends with "Sell me this pen," and TV commercials, right? Well, that didn't happen in the original draft. In the original draft, I had ended in jail, right? It wasn't a comeback story, right? And it's interesting, there's one thing to learn from that. It was I actually was able to rewrite my own life story while it was being made into a movie. I used this 4-year gap to rebuild my life, and I made it a better movie, and of course, much better for my brand. And after the movie came out, obviously, my brand began to soar. I started speaking all over the world, doing endorsement deals, right? And it was sort of like happily ever after that. But I can assure you, the one thing I learned from that is no matter how bad things are for you, We all have setbacks in life. Things don't always go our way. And that, the movie not getting greenlit or being ungreenlit in 2007, but not allowing that to stop me, over those 4 years, I really changed the story of my life. From this sort of downer where, poor guy goes to Wall Street, gets rich, makes mistakes, loses everything, goes to jail, end the story, to the guy that does all that, but then comes out of jail, rebuilds his life, and it ended up being a much better movie and much better for me. Now, what does all this have to do with gold? Okay, let me bring it back to gold now. What I've seen over the last, I'm actually 62 years old, and I look pretty good, I think, considering all I've done in the past, right? I've lived like 7 lives, right? But I still look pretty good. I've seen gold rise and fall, but it's always had this clear upward trend. And when I look at what's happening right now, I truly believe that over the next 5 to 10 years, gold goes substantially higher. And I'll tell you why. I have a couple of reasons why. Number one is I don't think inflation is over yet in the United States. I think it's already starting to kick back up again. I think Trump will be very good for inflation, but it's still going to be an uphill battle. And there are also things happening in the United States. We don't do enough manufacturing there, and I think we're destined to be struggling with inflation for the next 5 to 10 years. I don't see zero interest rates coming back anytime soon. I really don't see that, right? But more important than that, I think in my countries, and I hate to talk bad about my countries, but in their infinite stupidity, okay, I still can't figure out why they would freeze Russia's assets and knock them out of the SWIFT system. To me, that geopolitically was the stupidest thing I've ever seen my country do, because all it did was it really forced the hand of BRICS. It forced Russia into China's hands, right? It spread out BRICS, and it really showed the world that banking on US dollars is not as safe a bet as it might seem. So what's happened since then is the BRICS keeps expanding. The dollar is slowly but surely losing some of its value, not so much as a reserve currency, but relatively so. Still the reserve currency of the world, but clearly as an alternative. And what we see happening in response to that is more and more gold being accumulated by countries themselves, shipping their gold supplies back to their home countries, as the previous speaker noted, right? And I think that trend is going to continue substantially, because even though Trump is going to try to undo the damage that the Biden administration did, the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. It's hard to unforget, to unsee what we saw happen, where, the U.S. has been constantly using the dollar as this global sledgehammer over the rest of the world. But with the rise of China and now with BRICS, that sledgehammer proved not to be very important, not to be very effective, because Russia's economy didn't crater the way they thought it would. And all it did was force people away from the dollar. And I think that's very beneficial for gold. I truly believe that. Number two, okay, I mentioned inflation before. Now, I think there's going to be substantially, it'll be muted for the next few years in the United States, right? But eventually, I think it's going to kick back up, and I've seen this happen time and time again. And gold has this way of, it shoots up when there's uncertainty, it backs off. And we saw that, with Trump being elected, and I'll get into that in a moment, why I think he was elected. I'm pretty sure I know why. What happened is there was like this buy on rumor, sell on news. So the rally up was probably pro-Trump, and when he gets elected, it drops off. It's people taking profits. But now that Trump is in, and he has a mandate from the country, right, he still has to deal with the everyday politics in the United States. And the big thing with the United States is this. If you want to know why Trump, in my opinion, won this year, partially, listen, Kamala Harris, not a very good candidate, okay, to say the least. Okay, I don't know if you watched any of this in the news. If she would have said one more time, I grew up in a middle-class family, I would have shot myself, okay? Every question you asked was, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. She could not answer a single question, okay? So that's number one. Number two, she never won a vote in a single primary. In fact, in 2019, when she was in the primaries, She was the first person to drop out. She didn't get a single delegate, right? And she ended up becoming vice president. She was chosen for reasons that many people believe were DEI related, whether they were or not, separate issue, right? But she was essentially anointed to become the Democratic candidate after that. I'm sure you all saw that debate, right? The first debate, which was an utter disaster, right? And that's who's been in the White House for the last 4 years, scary as it seems, right? And then she comes in, she's not a great candidate, but I don't really think that's what it was. I really don't. What Trump represents, more than anything to the American people, is the collective middle finger to the establishment. Trump is our way of saying we do not have faith in the government. We don't believe the government works for the people. We don't believe our institutions serve the people. We believe that government basically exists to serve itself, to enrich itself, to keep the status quo going. And let's face it right now, we have a deficit, 30 trillion plus. Only God knows how that's going to get paid off. Although, at least with Elon Musk coming in and Vivek Ramaswamy, right, with this Department of Government Efficiency, hopefully they'll make at least some dent on the expenditure side, right? But what Trump represents to the United States is the middle finger to the establishment, saying, we don't trust you. And it's very different than Dubai. You're very lucky in the UAE. You have a government that serves the people. We don't have that in the United States. We really don't. And we haven't had that for a very long time. So now Trump is essentially that solution. They say, you know, go in there and burn it all down. That's what people said. Go in there and disrupt everything. Well, one of the things that I've seen throughout my life is that when there's disruption, there's uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, it's typically bullish for gold. So I think what's going to happen right now is I think Trump is going to go in there and he's going to disrupt the government. He's going to disrupt the Department of Justice, which is probably a really good thing. He's going to close down many agencies. He's going to redo the Defense Department. It's going to be, you know, the whole problem with immigration in the United States is completely out of control. So everything's about to get disrupted. And I don't think that disruption is going to be pretty. I think it's going to be noisy. It's going to be ugly. And it's going to create uncertainty. And I think that's very positive for gold. I really believe that. And while I don't think inflation's going to spike up, because Trump is, you know, typically his policies with, you know, oil, with, you know, drilling for oil, increasing energy independence. But again, I don't think that creates a glut, because I think he's also going to put very, very tough sanctions back on Iran. And I think that's also going to clamp down on supply. So I think that U.S. is going to become much greater producer of energy. You're going to see energy from Iran being forced to sort of be blockaded if they're successful at doing it. So again, I think that the Trump administration, I think, is going to have some chaos attached to it. And I'm praying, by the way, that at least some of the wars that have been happening, which to me make zero sense right now, besides the fact that it was terrible for the dollar, cutting Russia out of the SWIFT system was a huge mistake, just the loss of life, the chaos, and I'm hoping, and I really do believe that these wars are going to wind down very quickly under Trump. But again, the damage is done. The damage is done. Countries are nervous about the dollar, not just because of our deficit, but because of the sanctions the U.S. loves to put down on people who don't agree with them. So I really believe that gold is going to be that alternative. I really believe it. And you see the trend happening already with BRICS. Now, what does that mean for Bitcoin? Because I know this, listen, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin. Back in 2017, I absolutely hated Bitcoin. Hated it. And people will say, oh, well, look at you. In 2017, you said it was going to zero. And I really thought that. And I actually made a really famous prediction. I think it was like 18,000. It was like right at the peak. And I went on CNN and I said, it's going to zero. It's a total scam. And I was so sure of myself. Now, I was almost right. It went down to 2,000, I think, afterwards. And I was like, yes, I got it right, you know? But one thing I've learned, that the surer you are, probably the more wrong you are. And the mistake I made with Bitcoin was that I was right that at the time, it was wildly propped up. It had gotten way ahead of itself. But my emotional reaction to that was so intense that I never really bothered to look under the hood to see what it was actually about. I was like, what, digital? Stop it. It's just ridiculous. It's just, more buys than sells. As soon as you run out of buyers, that's it. It's going to implode like every other Ponzi scheme out there, and it has to go to zero, right? But to my shock, it didn't. It went down to 2,000, so I was right. And then it stuck there for a while, and then it started to edge back up. When it got to about 8,000 or 9,000, a good friend of mine who was a big pro-Bitcoin bull sat me down and goes, listen, I really think you got this wrong. He goes, let me give you a different take on it. Bitcoin is not currency. Because I always looked at it like it was going to replace the dollar. Bitcoin's not currency, he said. It's a store of value. It's digital gold. That's what he said to me, digital gold. And he gave me this very lengthy explanation, and he urged me to do some research on it. And the more I read about it, the more I started to like it. And I first started buying it in 2019. That was the first time I started buying Bitcoin. And since then, I bought a lot. And I've never sold a single Bitcoin since. And I've been buying it and buying it and buying it, right? Even when it crashed again, went back to 17,000, I bought more. And not as much as Michael Saylor, unfortunately, but I bought more at 17,000, right? And I haven't sold any since, and now it looks like I'm a genius all of a sudden, right? It's up in the 92,000 this morning, and I believe it goes to 100,000 plus before the end of the year. And Trump, as you know, is very, very pro-Bitcoin, very pro-blockchain technology, and I think one of the first things he's going to do is, I know for sure, is going to replace Gary Gensler at the SEC, who is honestly, this guy's just out to lunch, okay? And again, I have no love for the SEC for obvious reasons, but this guy is especially out to lunch, okay? Who believes in, in regulation through enforcement, which is insane. And by the way, just so you know, he has a point in the sense that, I look at Bitcoin and I look at Ethereum as being very legitimate, and I look at blockchain technology as having huge applications, a couple of which were mentioned earlier today. But blockchain technology, this immutable ledger, has got huge value. It really does. The problem is that after Bitcoin, after Ethereum, there's lots of people out there with not very noble purposes, to say the least, that use that legitimacy to create all these, SHIT coins, okay, that really were created that serve no other purpose than to enrich the people who created them. They never had a chance of working. They were never designed to even work. And then, of course, as in every wild bull market, you have the people like, you had the FTXs of the world, right? Then you had that so-called non-stable stablecoin, the Lunaterra disaster in there, right? So you're going to have those disasters which chill the market. So on some level, yes, I understand why the SEC came down heavily, but the lack of nuance in their approach to say there are good coins, good chains, and there are bad ones was just utterly ridiculous. So now that's going to certainly change, and I think that's going to create massive tailwinds for Bitcoin and crypto in general. And hopefully with this run, and I think Bitcoin, I wouldn't be shocked, just so you know, and don't quote me, don't buy because I said so, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin went to $250,000 a coin before Trump leaves office. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it did, for lots of different reasons, mathematical reasons, just, the world starting to accept it, all the ETFs now, which allow you to buy Bitcoin in a safe manner, right? So I guess one of the questions you might have as gold people is, well, if it's digital gold or is it regular gold? Is it not going to squeeze gold out? And the answer to that is, I think, absolutely not. I don't think the success of a digital currency or digital gold, so to speak, and success of real gold are mutually exclusive in any way. I really don't think so. In fact, they serve very different purposes as well. You know, there's something about gold, you just can't say, how long has it been a store of value? 4,000, 4,500 years? I just don't think that's going away anytime soon. And I think that, you know, what DMCC has done and the way you've positioned yourselves here, let's face it, you know, the trend is east. The trend is moving east. You're going to have two global superpowers here, which you have right now. The trend is moving east, and I'm a big believer in the India story. I've been to India many times, and as the most populous country in the world, they did something very smart. I think it was maybe 8 to 10 years ago, where they took all the money out of the system and then reintroduced it into the system. That really paved the way for what's happening right now in India. And I really believe that as India continues to grow, everyone there that rises up to the middle class, they're going to need to have a toaster, a television set. They probably already have smartphones. They'll want a second smartphone, right? And also, you know, just the sheer buying power of the country, and they're going to be stocking more gold. And I think that Dubai, as this prestigious, trusted source for gold trading, positions you beautifully. I really believe that. So I think the next 5 to 10 years are bullish both for gold and for Bitcoin and blockchain technology in general. So again, I think you guys are well positioned here, and it couldn't happen to a nicer person in Ahmed to be really running it. So I think you've done a tremendous job. And you know, one thing I know about Ahmed is that he believes in this so much. And you can tell whenever you sit down, he even more so than coffee, and you love coffee more than anything. Okay, that's how much he believes in the DMCC. And I think that, you know, as far as where Dubai sits overall, I think over the next 5 to 10 years, every time I come back here, there's 18 new hotels, 22 5-star restaurants that are new, and the country gets better and better and better. And I wish I could say that about the United States. And I'm hoping that with Trump, maybe he could take some tips from you guys, and we can get there too, because we have not been getting better and better. But I'm hoping he makes America great again. He truly does. And that Dubai continues on its current course, which is greatness and more greatness. So again, thank you so much for letting me speak today. It's been an honor. Thank you, man. Thank you.
For 1 minute and invite Ahmed to come up. Now, you mentioned a couple of books and films that have gone down in popular culture.
Yes.
Wall Street, Michael Douglas, the Gordon Gekko character.
Correct.
Lunches for Wimps.
Yeah.
Tom Wolfe, Bonfire of the Vanities.
Yep.
Social X-Rays, if I recall.
Yeah.
And The Wolf of Wall Street. There's several there, but I'll now hand over, if you don't mind, to Ahmed, who would like to make a presentation.
Okay, great. Oh, thank you, my friend. Wow.
It is a
Don't
pen.
make me sell you this pen. It's the sell me
Ahmed
this
is not
pen,
trying
right?
to sell it to him. He is actually giving it to him.
I could sell it to you. It has AI inside it. Thank you.
White gold and gold gold.
Oh, wow.
It is gold.
A gold pen. Gee, wow.
I think there's a certificate with it.
Ah, thank you
From
so
the
much.
IGI.
Thank you. Wow, amazing. Thank you so much.
18 carats.
18 karat gold.
White and gold pen.
Now that's a good friend, right? A gold pen.
And he didn't sell it to you. It's for free.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Jordan Belfort.
Wow, amazing. I am.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Well, what a speech. Before we take a break, though, we're now going to hear about the evolution of the gold market and gold market trading and the outlook for it. Please welcome to the podium Yong Lu, who's Senior Director of Metals Products at the CME Group.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yang Lu. I'm the Senior Director of Metals Products for CME Group. Before I start, I need to send an apology from my colleague, Hennig, who was supposed to be here, but due to the reasons out of her control, so she couldn't make it. But it's my honor to here to speak with all of you, and then on behalf of CME Group to walk through the key themes of changes in the precious metals market. First of all, I'd like to give special thanks to His Excellency Mr. Abdulla Marri, UAE Minister of Economy, and also Mr. Ahmed Bin Sulayem, Executive Chairman and CEO of DMCC. I'm so pleased to discuss some of the key themes impacting the precious metals industry and the Dubai market. For those of you who may not be familiar, CME Group is one of the largest financial exchanges in the world, and clients like banks, hedge funds, prop trading firms, and commercial clients utilize our markets every day to manage their business risks, hedge against fluctuations, and protect against price volatility. Yes. So today I'll focus on our metals markets, which provide clients around the globe with the most liquid and transparent marketplace for trading gold, silver, platinum, and palladium products. And we'll focus on three key areas of market evolution that we have observed in the precious metals markets over the years. And actually, all these three areas are highly relevant to the Dubai market. And first of all, sorry, can we move on to the next slide, please? And the next one, please. Sorry. Thank you. And first of all, it's about evolution in liquidity across global locations. Today's markets are dynamic and global in nature. This means managing an investment portfolio requires the necessary liquidity and the flexibility to get in and out of positions efficiently. Electronic trading provides users across the globe with virtually 24-hour access to global markets. And what this means is clients from all over the world can trade with one single liquidity pool, regardless of their geographic location or size. If you look at this chart, it shows all the major trading hubs of gold market in the world. And CME Gold Futures, which is New York-based, is widely regarded as the international benchmark for price discovery for gold market, with over $66 billion daily turnover on average. And it's the primary hygiene vehicle chosen by traders in the major physical trading hubs like London and Shanghai. It's also growing within the fast-developing precious metals trading community in Dubai. In our experience, development in the futures market is often driven by and can reinforce growth in regional physical markets. And we are seeing really exciting growth opportunities in the Dubai market. The Middle East, and UAE in particular, is one of the fastest growing regions in our metals markets. An increasing number of international and local brokers have started to offer CME Group gold futures and options to local customers in the region. Precious metals volume year-to-date from the UAE have increased 44% from last year, and then for 2023 full year in general, we have seen growth was really impressive at 51% already. So this was the first message I want to send, which is the liquidity evolution across global locations, especially in the UAE. And then the next slide, please. The second message is about evolution in liquidity in the Dubai trading hours. Thanks to around-the-clock electronic trading, gold market liquidity has now extended to the time zones that used to have very limited trading choices. And our metals asset class is one of the most global businesses at CME Group. During the Dubai time zone, gold futures volume traded has grown over 40% over the last decade. And now let's take a closer look at what this liquidity means. From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Dubai time, 15 million ounces of gold has been traded on average every day on our exchanges this year. And this is equivalent to $34 billion transaction value daily. this is over half of the total transaction at our CME gold futures, and is showcasing the round-clock liquidity indeed. The development of gold markets in Dubai has contributed to global liquidity growth over the last several years, but there is still plenty of room for future growth. And the deep liquidity on futures during the Dubai time zone is readily available now for the wider trading community in the Middle East to access. So this was the second message that I want to send on the liquidity evolution during the Dubai trading hours. And if you can turn to the next slide, thank you. So the third one is about evolution in market participation. And our markets are global in nature and attract a broad range of market participants. In addition to our large commercial and financial base of customers, we are seeing a surge of growth across sophisticated retail traders. The retail community increasingly wants to take charge of their investment portfolio and also be responsible for their own trading strategies. And gold has always been popular with the retail audience, especially our smaller-sized micro products, which have seen phenomenal growth. And this is mainly because of smaller capital requirements given smaller size contract size, lower entry threshold, and also traders can benefit from same liquidity and transparency on our exchange. This growing participant base is also good for markets because more participation brings more liquidity, but it also brings new prospective clients and business opportunities for the broader physical and financial industry too. Dubai has been at the forefront of this evolution, with more local brokers offering futures and many international financial firms opening offices in Dubai. We are also seeing more demand for expanding education and awareness of our products. And in fact, we are hosting an educational event with the DMCC and the World Gold Council on Friday this week. So that sums up the third key message on participation evolution in the precious metals market. And just to sum up, precious metals markets are constantly evolving, and we are evolving our offerings to meet new demand. We remain committed to making our markets more accessible, and more offerings will be introduced, which will benefit the entire industry. Dubai is a fast-growing trading hub for precious metals, and we look forward to bringing new customers into our markets and delivering the products and services that meet their needs. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Time for a quick break now, but a reminder of the gold competition brought to you by DMCC and BRICS Global. Your challenge is to guess the weight and the value of the gold that's on display just outside. Use the app to submit your answers. It closes at 4 o'clock and winners announced this evening. Take a break now. We'll be back in about half an hour and we'll be talking about BRICS and the BRICS Gold Corridor. So see you very shortly.